This is my review of the Zealous downhill slalom trucks. These are really awesome, cheap trucks. $315 for the raw silver version. If you want to get an anodized version in black, green, or bronze, you're going to spend 20 bucks more, $335. That really makes these trucks extremely competitive in today's market, where ZM1s are $475. Ronins, if and when they come out, are like $550, $600. Valkyries also in that $450 to $550 range. Yeah, no, not cheap these days. So I was pretty skeptical when Zealous brought these trucks to market, saying that they were going to be just over $300. I'm like, how good can they really be? Some specs: these are 111 to 124 millimeters. They are spaceable. That's an odd number. So I guess doing the math in my head, what is that? 6.5 millimeter spacers the truck comes with. I bought these trucks secondhand, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. I did not buy them directly from the factory, but what I can say is that the person who rode them before me didn't skate them very much, and I know that person very well. So they were in really good condition when I started skating them. In fact, I borrowed them for, I don't know, like 8 months now, maybe 7 or 8 months, before buying them last month off of this person, just because I had skated them so much. I've gotten so used to them. And during that time riding them, I have been mostly doing free ride. I have done a bit of hands down downhill with, race wheels like Quay Killers and the like. But primarily my focus with these trucks has been getting used to shortboard free ride. Now I ran the stock setup for a long time. Technically there's two stock setups. The first stock setup when you buy these is going to be the green 73, or not 73, the 93 and the 97A Venom bushings in the back truck, and the 73A 74 in the front truck. And if you have a keen eye, you will already notice something's going on with the color of these bushings. That's because I have partnered with Riptide for the next several truck reviews, in exchange for getting a variety of Riptide bushings and products. I've agreed with them that I was going to tell you how to set these trucks up with Riptide products. And in fact, I really like the setup that I've come up with. It's a nice little improvement over the stock setup, in my opinion. One feature that these trucks have is that, or not so much a feature, but a characteristic, is that they run out of lean really quickly. They have these really deep bushing seats that are really tight. They hug the bushing really nicely. But that means that as you lean the board over, it kind of bottoms out quickly. It means that getting wheel bite is a little bit more difficult, which is nice. But that kind of restrictiveness in the truck, some people might not like that. It kind of works against you if you're trying to tuck lean, things like that. And so I've chosen the Riptide WFB formula for this kind of like alternative bushing setup. Chose that formula because it is extremely low rebound, very little return to center. And when I've used this formula in the past, even with just the bushings that I've bought for myself for like my Paris trucks, really just noticed how that formula really just compresses so cleanly, kind of gets out of the way, and it managed to open these trucks up just a little bit more in a way that I really liked. And then also them being low rebound means that hooking up out of slides, it's like a little bit less snappy. The truck is less likely to kind of skip through the slides, which is a sensation I got a little bit with these trucks on the Venom. So yeah, we've got 75A, 78A in the front truck, WFB. And in the back truck, we've got the 93A and the 95A WFB, I think. And if you want to check my work, we've got like the kind of pink, like the deep pink color green, and then a slightly different color green and orange. So yeah, really like this setup. Highly recommend it if you are already a Zealous truck user and you're looking for something different, or you're looking to kind of get some stuff to mess with. Definitely check that out. And nice thing, this isn't even a sponsor plug or anything. I just think it's cool. Motion Board Shop, if you buy a pack of bushings and you don't want two identical bushings, say you're ordering 75A WFB, you can just put in the order notes like, hey, I would really like a 75 and a 78. And they'll just swap the second bushing out for the one that you want, because there's not the ability to order single bushings yet or customize bushing packs. But I don't know, it's just a cool feature. I think it's slept on, instead of having to buy double bushings of everything. Yeah, so like I said, I've been free riding these trucks a lot. Honestly, doing the best free ride of my life on these trucks. And, you know, it's always interesting when I say, you know, I'm doing the best free ride of my life or the best racing of my life or anything like that, any of these like superlatives, because I'm constantly progressing. I'm constantly getting better, seeing new roads, going new speeds, doing my slides with better form, better technique, quality. So when I say I'm doing the best free ride of my life on these trucks, I feel like the trucks are part of that change, but also could just be my natural progression, that I would have been doing this anyway. Prior to these trucks, what I was free riding were 165 millimeter Paris Savants, wedged 43 in the front, 38 in the back on like a 22.5 or a 23-inch wheelbase on the Coltrado board. Love that thing to death. It still is awesome. But I've had a really good time switching over to kind of the mini trucks for stand-up free ride. And here's why I really notice it. Now, I feel like a wide truck cannot be beaten for big stand-up heel-side slides. You know, your 10-inch trucks, your 180 millimeter trucks on a big old deck, long wheelbase. I choose that any day of the week if I'm trying to do a longest slide competition. Where I really notice an improvement of free riding little trucks is in the stand-up toe sides. I just feel like the snappiness and the control in the stand-up toe sides are just really nice. And I've been doing the best stand-up toes of my life. I just really like the way that a narrow truck consistently gets pressure down. This is something that I feel like I compliment in trucks a lot when I'm just talking about them. I don't know if I've said it in this channel, in this format a lot, but I say it with friends. Like being able to consistently get braking force down to the road is such a nice quality of a truck. And I think that the like narrow precision slalom trucks are so good at doing that. And that's what really inspires a lot of confidence when I'm doing my stand-up toe sides. There's even times where I'm on wheels that I really can't stand up heel side. For example, it happened very recently. I won't say what wheels yet because I'm still working on that review, but I just couldn't stand up heel side them for the life of me, and definitely not squats. Squats are so not wheelhouse for me. But I was doing stand up toes and holding them out really well. And of course, it was on these trucks. I've also been having a good time doing squat slides on these trucks, but you know, squat slides, something that I'm really only forcing myself to learn this year. I've done them in the past, absolutely. Like over the last couple years, I've done, you know, random squat slides here and there. Some are great, some are not great. I really want to add them to my bag of tricks this year as just like all right, if I'm, you know, free riding an open road, I want to know that I can consistently do a squat slide when I need to. And I've been enjoying them on these trucks, though they are quick to punish you. And when you're crunched down in that low squat position, it is hard to be reactive when the trucks don't want to do the thing. You know, I think that another benefit, the free riding these like little setups, another benefit is just how quickly you can rotate the board, right? I feel like a lot of high sides happen because when that high side starts to like initiate, when it starts to grab, you're not fast enough rotating the board back straight so that you can roll away from it. I used to feel like all of my stand-up toe sides were just high sides that I caught. And that was like learning that, which is a sketchy ass way to learn, but it became really reliable because I'm like, I feel like I'm high side proof on stand up toes. Then that eventually went the way that it did. And even at Tepe, had a little stand up toe go wrong, so I might need to buy a new TSG full face. We'll see. But I'm fine. That's the important part. Thank you, TSG, for consistently protecting my dome. Yeah, I've kind of got off track here. We're talking about the little board free ride thing. I've been a big fan. I feel like the little boards are just, you know, once you have that high side start to kind of initiate on you, you feel it start to happen, it's so quick to just snap that board back because it has such a small rotational inertia. And you would think that even with a weight, like, oh, skating with a weight sounds bad because it's heavier, the board's going to be slower to react. But that weight actually is just a center point for the rotation. And when you have concentrated mass at the center of rotation, it adds very little to the rotational inertia of the system. It's when you add weight to the either end of the system, aka having a really long, heavy maple like double kick board, that board's not going to rotate as fast. When you catch in a high side, it's going to, you know, take more force, and you're going to have to be a little bit quicker to kind of right yourself, keep going forward. So yeah, I like the little board free ride for that reason. I feel like I can get away with a lot of crap. I feel like I can't get away with bad form, but as my skating gets worse, right, as I get tired or I start to get inconsistent with bad form, I feel like I can catch it really quickly. I can kind of make these saves, and then still, right, the trucks are little grippy, I can still get around the corner I wanted to get around because they just have a lot of inherent grip. I've been skating these trucks at all sorts of different events. Just last week I got back from Tepe and Tacos, kind of near Santa Barbara, California. That's a really fun road for a number of reasons. It's fun for stand-up free ride. It's just a fast-paced road. You're always turning, there's very few straights, and the hairpins are still pretty high speed. They're banked well. They have a nice drift initiation zone going into the hairpins, and they're not like full 180 hairpins. So what happens is you end up carrying a lot of pace through the course. And that lends itself to either like fast free ride, right, where you're doing short slides, hooking up, and then gripping the corner. Like the slides are very tactical, not so much like long, stylish slides that you would do into hairpins, but also glove down skating. And so I'm sitting there, I'm at home, I'm packing, and I'm like, what on earth, what board am I going to bring to Tepe? You know, am I going to bring one of the many boards that I'm in the process of reviewing right now and try to get experience to review it? And I'm like, I'm pretty much done skating the Zealous trucks. I know everything I need to say for the Zealous trucks. Do I really want to bring a board I'm used to and these Zealous trucks that I've been free riding so much to Tepe, or do I want to experience something new? And I settled on bringing my, I'll just grab it because I'm talking about it a lot. Settled on bringing my, you know, trusty old custom Zenit board that I got last year. And I've got it set up on the like 20.5 inch wheelbase with the Zealous trucks. And this I was extremely confident in bringing. I knew that I'd be able to free ride this board if I wanted to. I knew that I would be able to race that board if I wanted to. That, you know, throwing some grippy wheels on there would be no issue. The Zealous trucks are just so versatile, and they're just really good. They're just, I don't know, I don't think they're boring trucks. I was never bored skating these trucks. I feel like sometimes you ride a truck and it's just like easy, and it's just like, I don't know, a little bit dead, and you're like, yeah, I can free ride these, yeah, I can glove down these, but I don't know, there's not a lot of character. Man, I just like them so much. Let me make a little pedestal so that they're actually in the frame. How many cheetahs do we need to stack? This summer, I really want to get down to the purple on these cheetahs. I know the spot. I'm going to do it. There we go. Look at that. Setting up the shot. Yeah, no, it took a little while to consider, like, what should I bring to Tepe? And, you know, there's just something about bringing gear you know you're going to be comfortable onto a skate trip that really enhances that trip. Also, Tepe was rainy, and kind of had hints of that leading up to it. There's no spherical bearing stuff going on with these trucks. It's just classic urethane bits and bobbins in them. So I didn't have to worry about like spherical maintenance. I got these trucks so wet, so muddy, and they're perfectly fine. You know, wiped them off after the last day. And by wipe them off, I mean I threw them in the shower and then used hotel towels to kind of clean them a little bit. But yeah, not what I would recommend for truck maintenance necessarily, but I didn't have that like panic in my head as if I were riding ZM1s or like my Don't Trip Downhill Sybins when I have those set up with like spherical bearings and stuff like that. I just knew that I could give these trucks hell and they'd be fine. Skated some famous roads on these trucks, had a great time, glove down style skating with the Quay A1s. I've got those hiding somewhere. Yeah, and was just loving it, taking great race lines. Now, again, they're not the most competitive truck. If you're trying to be at the top of the top of the top of racing, you're not gonna want to reach for these trucks. I feel like this truck is for the person who wants the do-it-all setup or the like entry to little boards setup. I'm so happy doing stand-up skating and glove down skating on just these trucks. They lay down pretty good, consistent grip. I find that the lack of lean of the trucks, because again, the bushing seat here, like that's a tall bushing, right? Over 50% of it is hidden, kind of like buried in this bushing seat. So it is pretty restrictive, and I think that that side support when you're kicking out slides helps so much. As you initiate and you kind of input that extra lean into the deck and into the trucks like bottom out, and that kind of helps the wheels lose traction consistently. And then as you're pushing from the side, there's so much wall to the bushing seat, plus the little insert bushing that's in there, that it's like, the truck is just so well supported laterally that it just is a joy to slide. Yeah, so I have done racing on this truck, but none of it's been with race wheels. The two races I did with this truck were the Banana Wheel Co. Like Jones Outlaw back in like November, I think, October. I did well in that. I made it to, what is that, semifinals? Yeah, because if I won that heat, I would have been in finals. Made it to semifinals and got crashed out. Just opponent took a little bit of a dirty line that didn't really work out for me, but he apologized and it was cool. It was cool. It was still a fun day of racing. I had a good time. That race, you know, tucking into the first corner, you're kind of like touching 40 miles an hour before you need to brake. That was perfectly fine. No issues there. And then I also skated at Tepe in the Pasters race, the new Powell Primo wheels. Do I have those handy? I do. These guys. Graphic is already worn off after, you know, one day of skating in true Powell fashion. Yes, I did the Pasters race on the Zealous trucks and made it to quarterfinals. So there were like 5 heats total, and I passed in my first heat, passed in my second heat, and then got knocked out in my third heat. Just did not carry the exit speed I needed out of a corner and lost the draft, lost the pack. But they were super solid. I had a really fun time. They definitely have potential for racing. I'm not saying that nobody's ever going to win a race on these trucks. They just aren't the like most mechanically grippy, just precise, agile trucks I've tried. Yeah, but you know, smaller races, less competitive stuff, where people aren't, you know, trying to win a huge prize pool or qualify for some international tournament, these are going to be more than adequate. They're perfectly fine. One thing I really like about setting these trucks up is that there's no insert bushing shenanigans, right? There is an insert bushing, it's just standardized. It's a little one, it comes stock with it. One thing I'd recommend is probably replacing the front one twice as often as you replace the back one. Just because the front truck goes through a lot more articulation because it is 51 degrees in the front truck and the back is 19 degrees. That with bushings, with insert bushings, if you're using a higher angle truck, you're going to want to replace those components about twice as often on these like really big split setups. Now I think Zealous sells them. I've got the website open, but trucks, can you buy a replacement? Well, whether Zealous sells them or not, you can get them from Pat's Risers. Now, I am a team rider for Pat. He supports me in a number of ways with my downhill skating. You can see his banner back there. It's always going to be a link in the description for Pat. He makes really, really nice, high quality 3D printed parts. I use them on basically all of my setups, whether it's insert bushings or risers or wedges. He makes foot stops. He makes a number of things. Have to just plug the homie. He supports me. I support him back. And I've always liked the stuff that he does. He's just a very ingenious guy. But Pat makes replacement insert bushings for these trucks that are really high quality, just like the real thing. I mean, just like the stock thing. I'm a huge fan of them. They're super easy to get. They're cheap. And I recommend, instead of just buying one set when you buy them, buy two sets, just because that front truck tends to eat up bushings a little bit faster than the back truck does. That's just an issue that you're going to have when you have really small inserts, is that they're going to wear out quickly. If you're skating these trucks regularly, I'd replace them like every 6 months, probably. Front truck replace every 6 months, back truck every 8 months to a year at your discretion. Yeah, another thing I did, another replacement thing, if you take a close look, you can see a little sliver of green in there. That is a Riptide pivot cup. One thing I can say confidently is that I did not have to replace the pivot cups. So that's after, remember, like 6 to 8 months of skating these. And I cycle a lot of gear, right? I don't have just one truck and one board that I'm riding all the time. But during those 6 to 8 months, I was riding these trucks more than anything else because I was enjoying them so much. But yeah, just to try, I replaced the pivot cups on here. There's something really interesting that happens with these trucks, is that kind of the base plate where it's machined out for the pivot, there's no bevel, and it's really, really sharp. So what'll happen as you use these trucks and wear them in is this exposed layer of the pivot cup, the urethane pivot cup, will start to slice and peel off. Don't be too concerned about that. The truck performs basically the same even as that layer is coming off. But I would like to see kind of a bevel machined into the pivot cup hole in the base plate, just so that I'm not looking down at my trucks and seeing the pivot cup slice apart into ribbons. Another thing that lack of a chamfer, lack of a bevel does, is it makes it very difficult to install new pivot cups. And the Riptide pivot cups are a really tight fit. I would prefer that over not. Oh, my cat's knocking at the door. 1 second. Yeah, the Zealous or the Riptide pivot cups, super tight fit, which is preferred. I like that. I think that's an extremely good thing. It just means that they're very difficult to install. You may or may not get it on your first try, like trying to press them in. And if you don't be afraid to sand them down a little bit on the outside. I think, I prefer to have a pivot cup that just installs cleanly and easily. But, I think the long-term benefit of having that interference fit, so there's multiple kinds of fits when you're slotting a tube into a hole. There's Um, you know, I say that now I'm forgetting all of them except an interference fit. There's like a loose fit, and then there's an exact fit where the diameter is basically the same as the thing, and then there's an interference fit where the hole is smaller than the thing going into it. That's kind of the vibe I got with the Riptide pivot cups. So you can guarantee that it's going to be a nice, tight, snug fit. It's going to be virtually slop free, but it might be a little bit hard to install. Now, I wouldn't replace the pivot cups in these trucks until maybe a year of ownership or more. What I really didn't experience a difference going from the stock pivot cups to the Riptide pivot cups, and just historically knowing the Riptide pivot cup quality, that tells me that the Zealous pivot cups are also really good. So yeah, you don't have to worry about replacing those like you do in other trucks. It's not like a get the truck, replace the pivot cup type of situation that a lot of other truck manufacturers kind of deal with. But it is nice to know that Riptide and Pat's Risers have, you know, accessible, relatively cheap replacements for those two like wear items. I really like the design of the base plate a lot. It's got all these holes in there, and then even this like cutout space where you can, depending on how things line up, fit a, you know, a bolt and a nut into there if that's where your foot stop lines up best. That's really why I like all of these holes, is because it gives you extra room to place a foot stop. Now you can also do, you know, the extra adjustment. I'm a big fan of that. Yeah, that's just a nice little detail that not enough truck manufacturers are doing. Give me more holes is kind of my request. Hi, Daisy May. This is my cat, Daisy May. She features in these videos a lot. She's named after the character from Animal Crossing, the little girl that brings you turnips on Sunday. She's a good kid. Good kid. What else? I don't know. Let's talk about aesthetics. Yeah. Love the design of these trucks, aesthetically speaking. I think they're gorgeous. I think they look great. Now this is not necessarily just aesthetics, but also as performance things. They are really low. And this is one of my favorite things about this trucks. I think ride height of trucks really affects free rideability, really affects how you feel the high side. And these trucks are as low as they could probably possibly make them. And I love them for that. Yeah, I mean, even like, let's take a look at the 50-degree Bear Gen 6, which is a really tall truck, and get it level with the front truck. Ooh, look at that. This isn't perfect science, but yeah. Now the Bears are some of the tallest cast trucks out there, don't get me wrong. It's just what I had on hand to demonstrate this. Here's the 40-degree Bear. Thank you, Brandon, for letting me borrow these trucks for an upcoming review. Not a review of these trucks necessarily, but a comparison that'll be important. But yeah, the Zealous trucks are nice and low, and that's a characteristic that I really like in my trucks, just generally speaking. I want my ride height as low as possible without making wheel bite just like incredibly inevitable. For me, I pretty much ignore wheel bite on my boards. I don't like tune my boards to avoid them unless it's a board I'm doing a lot of like flat ground tricks on. And these bushings, or this hanger, because it's so restrictive on the bushings, it bottoms out quickly. So even though they're low trucks, they also don't suffer from wheel bite. Yeah. Oh, let's talk about the stock. So stock, this truck comes with a 78, 73, the classic blue pink Venom that you see in all the slalom trucks. Now they also come with a second 73A bushing. So like these are regular height bushings, but it'll come with two 73A bushings. Where did I steal you from? Right there. I personally didn't like that a lot. I think the only advantage that might have, the only time that I would swap in such a soft bushing, is if I'm like racing on a course that's like 35 miles an hour or slower. That's where that extra agility kind of comes into play. You get a little bit more grip, although that front truck is kind of flopping around. It's not as well supported. I personally would much rather have the, harder board side, softer road side. And if you need more turn, the Riptide WFB is a great option. And if you need more turn than this, which I don't think you would need more turn than this, 78, 75 WFB is turny. But Riptide does sell lower durometer options if that interests you. Yeah, just thought I'd get that out there. I'm not a fan of the double pink front truck. I think it's just a little too floppy, sloppy, unsupported. But I do know a number of people do like that setup. I just didn't enjoy it for free ride or just general skating on the large, or like on the whole. More aesthetics. This one truly is aesthetic. I think the bronze, I'm looking at it on my screen over here. The bronze hangers and the green hangers are gorgeous. I say this every time I have a truck with a unique stylistic choice, is that I love when a truck is recognizable. Like I can see it in a video and know exactly what the person is skating. The green is so recognizable, the bronze is so recognizable, even the silver. I mean, not a lot of companies are just putting out pure, just raw aluminum trucks. I think that's just really attractive. I like it a lot. Yeah, aesthetically, I really like what they've done. One thing I wanted to do is talk a little bit more about the bushing seat. So if I have a tool nearby. So this was explained to me by somebody long before I got my hands on the Zealous slaloms, is that the design of the bushing seat, yes, it's restrictive, yes, it's deep, but it does have kind of an interesting purpose. And so this is third hand. So the person I heard it from, I think, Bryce, the owner of Zealous, I think. And then passed it on to me. So if this explanation is a little scrambly or not accurate to how it was intentionally designed, then that's my reason. So the curvature of the walls of the bushing seat, you can see how deep that is in there. Curvature of the walls means that as the truck is rotating, the wall is kind of walking up the edge of the bushing. So say this is your bushing in there, and as it's compressing, the wall, the curvature of the wall is kind of walking up the bushing. So it's leaning over, it's squishing over, and the whole time as it's squishing over, the bushing is being supported on its outermost edge by this curve of the bushing seat, which I think is really cool and really genius, and it probably is why this truck feels so good to free ride. I thought I turned my stop typing things. That's probably why the truck feels so good to free ride and just put just a slide on. Is no matter where you are in the lean, the bushing seat is kind of pushing its way up that wall of the bushing seat. It's leaning over, and it's that convex surface that's just so nicely kind of just rolling up the side of the bushing as you lean over and then disengage. Yeah, it's noticeable when you skate, and is one of the many reasons, in addition to the low ride height, of why I think this is a really phenomenal free ride truck. I went into this review, I went into skating these with extremely low expectations. I was borrowing them. I thought I might borrow them for a month and then give them back. The price point, the lack of some crazy new geometry just made me think that this was gonna, just be another truck added to the list of things you can buy. Maybe it'll be all right, but it's just gonna be an entry-level cheap truck, and I was extremely wrong. It is a nice, it's entry-level slalom in the sense that it is forgiving to ride. It does feel good to ride. It doesn't punish you if you're not skating them properly or on the limit or a number of things. This truck is friendly, but also is so high performing. I think the one thing that they might lack a little bit is like just that straight line stability, but that's so easily tunable because, right, all you have are bushings to tune it with. If you need some more straight line stability, just put harder bushings in it. Don't be afraid of that. I'm not a speed demon personally. When I go fast, it's because I'm either competing with other people or competing with myself. I don't personally love to go fast just for the sake of going fast. So fastest I probably took these trucks up to was maybe like 40, 45, which is still pretty fast, but right, it's not like, you know, crazy 60-mile-an-hour stuff. That's where I think these trucks kind of fall off, is in their fast riding, but they're a lot better than most other trucks out there for skating fast, right? This is just like a little nitpick. You're gonna love these trucks. I love them. I think they're really good at what they do. I'm surprised that they were able to pack so much free rideability into such like a small, like modern slalom truck, kind of like, I don't know, capacity, or losing my words here. It's a little late at night. This coffee's not working quite yet. My cat wants to get out, but yeah, huge thanks to Riptide as always for sponsoring these truck reviews, giving me some cool stuff to test. I do think the WFB is an awesome improvement in these trucks. If you already own them, or if you're looking to get them and want to have some extra bushings on hand, highly recommend picking up this 75, 78, 93, 95 setup for your Zealous trucks. And congratulations to Zealous for adding a, you know, one of the most affordable precision trucks into the market and it not being crap, right? This is a extremely good truck that is extremely versatile, and I'm gonna be skating for a long time. I mean, I bought these, right? I don't always buy the stuff I review. Sometimes I just review it when I borrow it, or I buy it with the intent to just sell it post-review because I just know that it's not gonna be my style of thing. No, these are staying. I love them. So if you want to get your hands on some of my 3D printed designs, you know, I make foot stops. This one's adjustable. It's got a little slot in the bottom of that. This is a concave implant. I've also been developing some other stuff, new foot stop designs. This one's really cool. Proud of that. Bash guards. It's just a little thing I do as a reward for my patrons. Over on Patreon, you can check out the link in the bio. I've been talking about these trucks on Patreon for truly the entire length of time that I've been borrowing them and also bought them. So my viewers on Patreon have heard 90% of these opinions already. It's just the stuff that goes on YouTube is like the more refined, more easily published stuff. It's the stuff that, you know, I'm ready to put out into the world in a public way. Patreon gets the like first reaction, first thoughts, the like stuff that, you know, maybe down the road I'll disagree with what I said, but I've just got it fresh on my mind. I need to say it now. I'm posting usually multiple times a week over there. There's easily like 7 hours of content you can go watch right now on Patreon. And then you can also vote on the next stuff that I review. Patrons voted and I bought the Rocket Rhino Race Tail. That'll be next review probably, or a couple down the road. And they recently just voted on a new pair of precision trucks that, once the Patreon budget gets up high enough, I'm gonna buy in the summer. So it's just a fun little way for me to put some more content out there that's less polished, but still just as fun to make, and just hopefully just as fun to watch. So it's a great way to support me. Check it out. You get a little thank you box if you donate enough money. But yeah, check out Pat's Risers, link in the description. Get your inserts for here, get some wedges, mess around with angles. Stock angles on these trucks were perfect for me, but because the ride height is so low, you have a lot of room to mess with wedging before you start to get into weird, huge ride heights that would be maybe uncomfortable to skate. So definitely worth experimenting with on these trucks, especially if you're free riding. Some people like a higher angle, so maybe like a 5-degree increase in the turn would be cool. My cat desperately wants to get out of my room, so I'm going to wrap up the video here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I appreciate you.